Welcome to Slow Pour Whiskey. My name's Trent. Today we're going to be talking about the very formidable Islay Banger Bunnahabhain 12. The Isle of Islay is a very famous island, maybe one of the most famous islands in the world, and it is a famous island that is known for its Scotch whiskey, most often peated scotches. But there is a distillery that has been on Islay for a long time that is very famous, but not for peated scotch. If you don't know much about scotch or whiskey, a lot of scotch is peated. That means that they chop up bits of earth, bits of peat, like deep, like boggy earth, grass, bog peat that's been smashed down together. They cut it up and they burn it. If you were in America, America has a lot more wood or trees available to cut down to use for firewood. They don't have as many trees in Scotland, but they have lots of peat. So to fuel their fires, they would burn peat, and they would use the fires to dry out the barley so that they could malt the barley to make beer and ultimately whiskey. And burning that peat releases a smokiness that's different than like a campfire smoke. It's different when you're burning wood than it is when you're burning peat, and that is what peated whiskey is. This 12-year-old Bunnahabhain from the Isle of Islay is not peated, and it's actually quite famous for being unpeated. This bottle is Bunnahabhain 12-year-old. It ticks off all the boxes for someone like me who wants to experience an honest expression, a genuine expression, an integrity scotch, an integrity single malt scotch. It is non-chill filtered, which we can get into that another time. It is natural color, and it is above 46%, which a lot of whiskey these days is watered down to the point of 43 and often even 40%. 40% being the legal minimum. So it can't be called a whiskey, especially Scotch whiskey, if it's under 40% alcohol by volume. This is just above the requirement for someone like me who wants it to be an integrity bottling. It should be 46%. And this bottle is 46.3%. I think it's been 46.3% since like 2010 or somewhere in there. But why the 0.3% I'm unsure of. But the fact that it's 46% and above means that it's an integrity. That's one of the three main categories for an integrity malt: non-chill filtered, natural color, 46% alcohol by volume or higher. And this checks all of the boxes. This is from that famous Isle of Islay, but it is not peated, which means it does not have that smokiness that I started off talking about. And I have a glass of it right here, ready to go. I'll actually give you a close up on it here, if I can. Let's see that color. So that color is natural. There's no color caramel added. This is what it actually looks like from sitting in the cask, from sherry casks, which is what this Bunnahabhain is. It is aged in sherry casks. Sherry and bourbon casks. Yeah, there's more flavor notes and stuff on here, but I'm not going to read into that because I want us to have an experience not based on what the people that bottled this want us to experience. I want it to be something that we genuinely experience ourselves. But yeah, this color comes from the fact that it's been aged in sherry casks. And that's where this color comes from. It's not caramel coloring that's added. you know that because it is natural color. If it had caramel, if it doesn't say natural color, it may have caramel coloring in it. And then it gets kind of like a weird oranginess to it. You can kind of tell that it isn't real, but these big companies think that people will buy whiskey if it looks darker because the average consumer thinks that it is just, that means it's better because it's darker, which that doesn't necessarily, darker doesn't necessarily equal better, but kind of a general consensus among consumers, and the big businesses want to sell to the consumers. But you and I are not consumers. We are here to enjoy quality, integrity, single malt Scotch whiskey, of which Bunnahabhain definitely seriously qualifies. This is a 12-year-old Scotch, which means the youngest old whiskey in this is 12 years old. There may be more than that. There may be older than 12 in here. But the youngest whiskey that can be put in this bottle legally is 12 years old. It's probably about 12 years old. There's probably not much older than that added in, but there may be some. Let's get this on the nose. This Scotch would be one of the ones I'd recommend to someone who has had Scotch before and wants to try something better than just the standard entry level whiskeys. It is sea. There's like sea air and sea salt. It's definitely, it's from the Isle of Islay, which is an island in the sea. And so that like saltiness comes out a lot. But it smells like a sherried Scotch. What you would expect from a Scotch that has sat in sherry casks. It is like dried fruits, dark red fruits, raisins, some fig. Yeah, there's that salt. There's a sweet, like a butterscotch or like a, I don't know if it's caramel, but yeah, like a butterscotchy, caramely sweetness. And that's the fruit too in there, those like raisins. A little bit of stone. So it could be like red stone fruits too. But you can tell it's not sharp from alcohol, but it's strong and potent in its flavor and its presentation for itself on the nose. So let's get a little bit of this on the palate, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about it after we add some water and let it sit. So just a small little bit up front. It's viscous. It has a serious texture to it. It's not thin at all. If you've had something like a 40% Glenmorangie, it's got a thinness to it. That's because it's 40% alcohol by volume. Not to like pick on Glenmorangie, because they actually have some really good Scotch. They have some really good whiskey. But their entry-level base stuff is thin in comparison to this. This is thick. A low alcohol by volume is thinner because it's more water and less alcohol. And the alcohol is what has the texture and the flavor. And so this being higher strength alcohol by volume, there's a thickness to it, but it's also non-chill filtered. And non-chill filtration is much more an integrity presentation. There's less stripped out of it, so the oiliness remains. I don't know if let's see if I can get to focus on this, but like, can you see all of those legs, those lines there on the glass? That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen with Scotches that don't have an oiliness to them. And when you chill filter a Scotch, a whiskey, it takes out the oils that make that happen and that add to that texture. There's definitely like a mouth coating feeling to this whiskey. And it's got the like roasted walnuts, like nuttiness on the palate. There's some dark chocolate in there. There's the saltiness. It's like a sweet and salty. I'm going to add a touch of water, and then we're going to talk about this a little bit more, because I have a confession to make. About this bottle over here. So I'm going to add, I don't want to add tons, but we'll just add like that. So a touch Put my tiny spoon in my huge glass. Set that back over there. And then we're just going to roll this around. I'm not going to shake it around a bunch. Just want to let it roll, and we'll set it there for a minute to let the water get in there. Don't let people tell you how to drink your whiskey. You can drink your whiskey neat. You can drink it on the rocks. You can drink it with soda. You can put it in a mixer. There's no wrong way to drink whiskey. That's not true, actually. You want to drink your whiskey responsibly. You want to drink alcohol responsibly. It's basically a poison. And so there needs to be respect while you're drinking it. It needs to be something that you spend time with and give attention to it and respect to it, because it is something that can go wrong. But if you show it respect, if you drink with friends and community, if you drink to appreciate it for what it is, not just to get drunk, not just to go crazy, not just to forget whatever reasons, bad reasons people drink. A good reason is to spend time with it and to enjoy it, to appreciate the work and the time and the effort that has gone in to making something like this. So adding water opens it up, gives it a little bit of space to breathe. The water interacts with the alcohol and kind of opens up the doors a little bit. So let's see if we can smell anything different on the nose here. A little bit more of the salt is coming through now. It's a little less. It really is just like opened and aired out a little bit, basically. It's a 12-year-old whiskey, so I've let it sit for 12 minutes. 1 minute per year old it is, at least that. I've let it sit for at least 12 minutes, and then adding a little bit of water further opens it up. But giving it time to rest and oxidizing it, some air in it. And as you're holding it and you're like rotating it, you're letting more oxygen in. That's why you don't want to you usually don't want to shake it, I don't think, at least too much, because it lets too much air in, and we want to keep the flavor in there. They make lids for these Glencairn glasses that keep it lets it breathe with the oxygen that's in there, but it doesn't let the aromas escape. And then you take the lid off and it smells really good. But yeah, letting some water sit in there is a good way to open it up so you can experience it a little bit better. Let's get another taste here, and we'll go for the palate, see what this really, after that first initial taste, let's see what it really comes out with now, especially that we've added some water. There's a little bit more chocolate in the nose as well here. It coats every bit of your mouth. It gets all over the tongue, gets all over my cheeks, underneath the tongue, on the roof of my mouth. It coats your whole mouth. That's not something that all whiskey does, especially whiskey that is filtered specifically, and then low alcohol by volume. And then if you had caramel coloring in there, I feel I don't know, they say you can't tell, but I feel like there's a difference in texture there too. And that gets kind of weird, and some weird stuff going on when you add the coloring in. This coats your mouth. It's got dark chocolate. It's got nuts, maybe a little bit of hazelnut and walnut, maybe pine nut. There's a little bit of oak in there too. The red, I don't know, if you just think of dark chocolate, it doesn't have the red fruit like it does on the nose in the Scotch as much. It's more nutty and warming. It is delicious, actually. It's got a medium to long finish. It's not long, but it's got a good solid finish. And it's got this saltiness going on, the sea air that is captured in this whiskey, which is a remarkable thing to think about. That the environment that this spirit is made in really brings it, seeps into the spirit. It's just a very cool thing, and this definitely has the saltiness of the waves of the sea air. One little thing I want to talk about briefly here. Let's see how long I've been going, because I want to keep this shorter. Okay, probably have a couple minutes. I actually don't have anything in this bottle. This bottle's empty. It's for show. And it goes back on the shelf back here, and I'm probably going to put it back up there until I get a repeat bottle, a replacement bottle, because this is going to be a repeat whiskey. I'll probably always have this on my shelf. It's a very solid whiskey, especially for like $60. I think I had it for like $60 in Chicagoland. I think, and it's in a lot of grocery stores actually, which is remarkable. This is maybe the best whiskey you can get in a grocery store in my area as a general rule. It's very good, and it's an integrity bottling. It's an integrity example of a Scotch whiskey. But this bottle's empty. I actually have all of that remains in this little bottle right here. So this is just a little 250 milliliter, I think, or maybe it's 300 milliliter bottle. And the reason I have it in this is because there's not much left. You see like how much smaller this bottle is than this bottle. Like there's a big difference in bottles here. And it's important to note that oxidization happens. Big words here on this channel, which is why you should subscribe and like and comment on these videos. Be a part of the conversation so you can educate me on my verbiage. Anyway, back to whiskey. If you notice, there's already a lot of oxygen inside this small bottle. But imagine that it was in this bottle, I think is 250 milliliters. So imagine this much in this bottle. And what that would mean is that there's a lot of oxygen sitting around in this bottle. And oxygen is one of the things that whiskey doesn't like for extended periods of time. That's why bottles are airtight. That's why after you've poured a glass, you can't let it sit out for days. It needs to eventually be drunk. Otherwise, it will oxidize. And I don't think it will go bad, like as in it's dangerous to drink, but it won't and have the flavors and you won't enjoy it as much. So I've had this bottle for a while, and I didn't want what was inside it to go bad or to lose its potency, to lose what makes it special and unique. So I got these little bottles. So in some of these videos, I'm going to have a fake bottle or a real bottle, but empty one. I'm going to be pouring from these bottles because I want to have a collection that can stay around for a while and still be flavorful after a year or 2 or 3 of sitting around. The less oxygen that touches the whiskey, the better. And so, yeah, I guess that's just a little aside about that, is be intentional with your bottling. When you get halfway down, start thinking about what you're going to do. And then, once you start to get down towards the bottom, like you might as well transfer it to something that's smaller bottle, that's still airtight. And, and then you can have your whiskey around for a long time. This will stay good for much, much longer than in a big bottle. Let's give one last taste here we'll pay attention to the finish a little bit more. It's still opened up a little bit more too. It's just, it's like a cinnamon now a little bit too. And it's briny sea air again. Savory and coastal and oily. You can tell there's a little bit of not cream, but that like texture. That like, yeah, there's something of substance here when you smell it. Let's give it one last taste and then we'll score it and then you can go on your way. It's warming. There's oak. It's not sharp oak. It's actually a very controlled oak, but it's delicious. There's a brininess. There's a savory, salty thing going on. There's a sweetness, and it's got this like nuttiness to it, walnuts and dark chocolate. It is delicious whiskey. I strongly recommend the Bunnahabhain 12. There's a Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength. That might be what I replace this bottle with, just because it's higher strength. You get more for your money, depending on how the math works out. I guess that's always the case with money, but getting cask strength means you can water it down yourself instead of having the distiller water it down for you. that might be what I replace this with, but this is definitely a recommendation. I would recommend this to anyone. I would love to try like I think there's a 15-year-old. I would definitely be interested in trying some older Bunnahabhains as well, but they are quite pricey. But yeah, for a whiskey, a Scotch, single malt Scotch whiskey that's available in most grocery stores in my area for $60 from the famous Isle of Islay, but unpeated, unsmoky, but sherried and rich and nutty and sea coastal, oily mouth coating dark chocolate goodness. I highly recommend the Bunnahabhain 12. I would rate this, I'm still working on my scale, new at this reviewing thing, but I would say this is a solid 85 out of 100. It's a very good whiskey. So I would definitely encourage you to go pick it up. So please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what whiskey would be on your list for one you'd recommend to someone who really is wanting to take the next step in whiskey, and what a whiskey would be for you that would be on your shelf, like a bottle that you have or a bottle that you want that you've had before that if it ran out you would replace it right away. I think this will be a perma-shelf whiskey, one that when it's gone I replace it, because it's readily available, easily accessible, relatively good price value for money proposition on this bottle is great, and it is just an incredible delight of a whiskey that is an integrity bottling, an integrity expression of what really great unpeated Islay single malt Scotch whiskey can be. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Trent. This is Slow Pour Whiskey, and I hope you enjoy a great dram today. Thanks.